This video presents a gripping and emotional sentencing hearing of Tiffany Martinez, who pleaded guilty to a robbery charge. The courtroom atmosphere is serious and tense as the judge carefully listens to both sides before making a final decision that will shape the defendant's future. The case is not just about the crime itself, but also about the personal history and circumstances that led up to it. As the hearing begins, Tiffany Martinez takes the stand and delivers a deeply emotional testimony. She opens up about her difficult past, describing a childhood filled with trauma, instability, and abuse. Her voice reflects both pain and regret as she explains how these experiences affected her decisions later in life. She also speaks about her relationship with her co-defendant, Roger Mims, portraying it as controlling and toxic. According to her, this relationship played a major role in influencing her actions during the incident. She claims she felt trapped in a cycle of fear and manipulation, which ultimately led her down the wrong path. Throughout her testimony, Martinez expresses remorse for what happened. She directly acknowledges the harm caused to the victim and takes responsibility for her involvement. Her words are emotional and seem to come from a place of reflection, as she tries to convince the court that she is capable of change and deserving of a second chance. She emphasizes her willingness to rebuild her life and avoid repeating the same mistakes. However, when the prosecution begins questioning her, the tone of the hearing shifts. The state challenges her version of events and focuses on specific actions that appear to contradict her claims. One major point raised is her decision to continue communicating with Roger Mims despite having a protective order in place. This raises doubts about the level of control she claims he had over her. The prosecution also highlights inconsistencies in her statements regarding the night of the robbery, including debt.
Both parties had a chance to review the PSI report.
Judge, I'm reviewing right now.
Defense, have you reviewed?
Yes, Judge.
Any objections to the PSI report?
No, Judge.
All right. Defense, do you have any witnesses?
Just Ms. Martinez, but first I'd like the court to review a couple of letters of support that I've shown to the state.
Is this the supplemental?
No.
You had a chance to review the supplemental report? And I can tell both counsels, the court just saw the supplemental report, but the court has not reviewed the supplemental report. State, you're opposed.
Yes.
State, do you have witnesses?
No, Your Honor, just the evidence that was stipulated to.
All right. Defense, any other witnesses?
Yes, we'd call Tiffany Martinez.
All right. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Tiffany Martinez.
All right. Defense, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Martinez, I want you to give the judge a little background on yourself and then also to talk about this incident that you've been charged with, right? Now let's start with sort of your childhood growing up. How was your childhood? How would you describe that?
So I was in CPS. I was abused as a kid. I didn't have the best relationship with my dad. And so I was just back and forth with my mom, my dad, my grandma.
How was your dad? How did your dad act towards you?
It was abusive.
In what ways? What else?
Verbally abusive.
Okay. How long did that last?
And that was maybe about 5 years old up until I got taken away, which was 14.
When you were taken away, where did you go?
Went with my mom to live with my mom.
Did you live with your mom the rest of the way through school? And was that part, at that time when you moved in with your mom, were things okay at that point?
Still trying to adjust.
What kind of adjustments were you making right then?
Trying to adjust to the new lifestyle, from being abused and I guess manipulated and stuff. And my mom's household wasn't like that, like my dad's. So I was still trying to adjust to the change.
And I know you're very nervous, but just take your time and we'll answer these questions and go through it. Was your mom more strict on you than your father?
She wanted the best for me. She wasn't mean to me like my dad. She didn't abuse me like my dad. She was hard on me academically, and but she wasn't nothing like my dad.
Were you able to complete school?
I did, yes, early actually.
Where did you graduate from?
Southwest Academy.
After that, were you able to find a job and work?
I went to college, yes.
Okay. Where did you go to college?
Concord Career College,
And what did you get a degree in?
dental assistant.
And then after that, were you able to get a job and employment?
Yes, I did.
Where did you start working?
Right in dental and orthodontics.
Now, at some point in here, I know that you got married.
We were in the process, yes.
Okay. And who was your husband? His name?
Santos Hernandez, but we're not like officially
Okay. How long were you two together?
since I was 14 years old.
And along the way, did you have children with Santos?
I did, yes.
How many children?
I have 3.
How was your relationship with Santos?
It's good. I lived with him like at 17, I'll say. And we've been living together ever since. The relationship was always good.
Was there a point going back to 2022 and 2023 where you and Santos were not having a good relationship?
Yes, we were.
Okay. Why was that?
He was always gone, and our relationship kind of was fading as far as like there was no like affection or anything, and it was just kind of more like of a friendship at that point.
Were you working then?
I was, yes.
Where were you working?
I was still at, I was at Recess Dental.
Okay. And what were you were working as a dental assistant?
I was the lead dental assistant.
Okay. Now, during the course of that time period, like maybe 2021 through 2023, somewhere in that range, did you become acquainted with somebody named Roger Mims?
Did.
Okay, and how did you meet Roger?
Went to high school together.
And what kind of relationship did you have with Roger?
We were friends first, and then we pursued a relationship.
At that point, you were not with your husband. As you pursued the relationship, what kind of relationship developed with Roger?
It became very abusive. Became manipulative, scary.
Okay.
Not what it was, what I thought it would be.
When you say abusive, I know there's some very specific things that he did. Did he ever threaten you?
He did, yes.
How?
More than one time. He went to my work multiple times. I had to hide in the dental ops. He chased me down Medina Base with a knife, and then he told me he was gonna kill me.
Okay.
And then there's just been multiple incidents where he was abusing me, and because I tried to leave and he didn't let me.
Okay. Going all the way back to 2021, was there a time where he said he was going to blow the head off your baby daddy?
Yes.
Was there a time in 2022 where he assaulted you and threatened your life? Was there a time in 2022 where he stole your wallet and car?
Yes.
Okay, describe that for me.
I was working out at the gym, and I called in to work that day because he told me he was gonna go to my job and embarrass me and flat in my tires and mess up my car. So I called in and I told my manager what was going on, and I took the day off and I went to the gym. I was working out, and then he comes in and enters, and I'm hiding in the men's restroom. I didn't want to go into the girls because I was just more safe in the men's restroom. He then still trespassed into the gym and he got me. And then the members were trying to help and they called the police. And then I was outside in the parking lot and he beat me up and he took my phone, my car keys, and my wallet. And he took off. And he took my house key.
Is there also a time in 2022 where he did flatten all your tires with a knife? Was there also a time in 2022 where he took a brick and busted out the driver's window on your car?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Said before, I couldn't never leave him, and every time I tried to, he would just threaten me, and he would actually do whatever he said he was going to do. And so we lived close to each other, and he just followed. He got a break, he followed me, and he busted my windows, and I had just gotten that vehicle.
Now, were there numerous other incidents with Mr. Mills?
Yes,
Were you aware that he had a long criminal history?
I did.
You do know that now after we've talked about your case?
Yes.
Now, going,
Much of a relationship, but the communication for my safety, because he said that if I don't talk to him, that he's gonna still do all these things that he was doing to me. So we were still communicating, but we were not together.
so on the day of this incident, how did you come to be with Roger?
I picked him up, went to his house, and we were just talking about like everything that was going on, and as far as like my relationship with Santos, and Santos was supposed to be watching the kids that night. He wasn't, so I vented to him.
At this point in your life, were you drinking
It was
more than you should?
more than I should.
And were you using any drugs?
So,
None at all, not marijuana? Now, how did the drinking affect you?
it affected me because it became a bad habit. It was every day. I used it to numb from everything that I was going through in my life. And it was just, yeah, it was not a good habit.
Now, as far as this incident, the day this happened, how did it come up that this happened?
So I was with my friends that night. And like I said, Santos was supposed to be watching the kids at the house. We would take turns. And so I decided to come home early. It was like 10:30. And I noticed he wasn't there. So I was upset because I was like, okay, well, where are the kids? But they were with my grandma, and my grandma also lives at the house. So I picked up Roger, and I was just freaking out because, like, obviously, like I still had feelings for Santos, but we were not together.
Okay, how do we get to the point of this
Incident.
offense? Yes.
So Santos came home, and then another car pulled at the same time. So that vehicle was, I assumed, his girlfriend. So I followed her with Roger, and that's how we.
All right, so you thought this was his girlfriend.
Yes.
So did you say, hey, Rogers, that's your girlfriend, let's follow her?
No, it was Santos.
Santos, did you
Yes.
say, hey, Santos, that's your girlfriend? I know that's your girlfriend. We're gonna follow her?
No, so Santos was already in the house. Santos pulled up the same time that other car did. So Santos was already inside. I was with Roger outside of my house, and we both saw the vehicle. And Roger's like, follow her, like, go, let's go. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go. And we followed her, and
And then what happened?
we got off the vehicle, and I had told her, excuse my language.
Oh, no problem. I've heard it all.
Okay. I said, are you Santos's bitch? And she was just like, who? Like, he. And then she swung on me first, and I was like, okay, well, we're gonna obviously fight. So we began fighting, and then we just fought. But
Where did the gun come from?
I didn't know there was a gun until there was like 3 sessions of fights, and we tried to break it up. And then on the 3rd time, that's when Roger pulled out the gun and said, I'm gonna kill both of you bitches. And he shot towards us. Well, he not towards us, but like, I don't know if it was up in the air or towards us or what, but it was shot. And then we both let go of each other, and then we just got up and we left. And I grabbed her phone thinking it was my phone. And that's where the robbery came in.
In conclusion, this case leaves behind a strong and lasting message about the balance between personal hardship and accountability. Tiffany Martinez's story is filled with emotional struggles, past trauma, and difficult relationships that clearly shaped her life and decisions. Her testimony shows a person who has experienced pain and claims to have been influenced by fear and manipulation. However, the outcome of the hearing makes it clear that, despite these circumstances, every individual is still responsible for the choices they make. As everything comes to an end, the decision reflects a firm belief that actions carry consequences that cannot be overlooked. While her past may explain some of her behavior, it does not excuse the seriousness of the crime committed. The denial of leniency highlights the importance of taking responsibility and understanding that the impact of one's actions extends beyond personal struggles, affecting others in significant ways. This case also serves as a broader reminder about life itself. Many people face hardships, toxic relationships, and emotional challenges, but the way those situations are handled ultimately defines the path forward. It encourages reflection on how important it is to break negative cycles, make better decisions, and seek healthier choices even in difficult circumstances. By the end, the message is clear and impactful. No matter how complex a situation may be, accountability remains a key part of moving forward. The case closes with a sense of finality, leaving viewers to reflect on the lessons it presents about responsibility, consequences, and the importance of choosing a better direction in life.